When I opened my stepdaughter's closet, I realized something was very wrong. Everything I had ever bought her was in there. Clothes, shoes, toys, even the electronics, all of it. It was arranged perfectly, like a display. At first, nothing seemed out of place. The older clothes were there, the ones I used to see her wear all the time. Her favorite hoodie, the one she threw on every Saturday morning without even thinking about it. The jeans she practically lived in for an entire year. The tops we had picked out together during long shopping trips where we spent more time laughing than actually buying anything. All of it was clean, carefully folded or hung, like those moments still mattered. But then my eyes shifted, and the difference became impossible to ignore. The dresses I had bought her a few months ago, the shoes I surprised her with just because I knew she'd love them, the blouse I held up in the store while she rolled her eyes and laughed at me for taking so long to decide. Every single one of those items still had the tags on them, untouched. And it wasn't just the clothes, toys I had given her, lined up neatly, like they had never been played with. Gifts I remembered her getting so excited about. Sitting there like that. Excitement never went any further than the moment she opened them. Even the electronics were carefully placed, like they were being stored, not used. It didn't feel like a closet. It felt like a museum. A quiet, perfect display of everything I had ever given her. From the time she loved me, to the moment she stopped letting me in. I just stood there, staring, trying to make sense of it. Because this wasn't messy. It wasn't careless. It was intentional. And in that moment, I knew something had changed between us. I just didn't know why. My name is Mia Jones. I'm 36 years old, and I work as a healthcare administrator in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I met Regina's father, Stanley, at a networking event, and what started as a simple conversation turned into something deeper without either of us really trying. He was easy to talk to. Grounded. Thoughtful. On our first date, he told me he was divorced and had a 10-year-old daughter. He explained that he and his ex-wife, Anna, had married young, and that after 11 years, their relationship had shifted. The love didn't disappear, but it changed into something more like a friendship. When they divorced, Regina was 8. They made a decision early on. They would do everything they could to make sure Regina stayed the same happy, funny, loving child she had always been. They enrolled her in counseling before the divorce was even finalized, and they agreed on one important rule. Regina wouldn't meet anyone they were dating unless both of them believed the relationship was serious. In the 3 years after their divorce, she hadn't met a single person, not one. I respected that immediately. As a child of divorce myself, I understood how important stability is. How much it matters when children feel secure in a world that's already changing around them. Stanley and I grew closer naturally. Phone calls turned into dates. Dates turned into weekends together. And before I knew it, 6 months had passed, and he told me he was ready for me to meet Anna. We met at a coffee shop one evening. She was already there, nervous, but quietly observant. After a few polite exchanges, she got straight to the point. Her questions came quickly, my feelings for Stanley, whether I saw a future with him, if I wanted children, and what kind of role I expected to play in Regina's life. For a moment, I was caught off guard. But then I understood. This wasn't about me. This was about her protecting her daughter. So I answered honestly. And slowly, I saw her relax. Her tone softened. The tension faded. By the time we left, it didn't feel like I had been evaluated. It felt like we had reached an understanding. A few days later, I met Regina. We met at a trampoline park, and I still remember the way she looked at me at first. Curious, a little guarded, trying to figure out who I was supposed to be in her life. But kids don't stay guarded long when they're having fun. Soon we were laughing, jumping, trying to outdo each other. By the time we sat down for lunch, she was talking non-stop. And by the end of the day, she was already asking when we could see each other again. That was the beginning of us. Over the next few years, we became close. really close. Stanley and I got married, and Regina became such a big part of my life that I could hardly remember what life felt like before her. We had our routines, our traditions, our little inside jokes. Even Anna and I found our space. We weren't best friends, but we respected each other. Everything centered around one thing: loving Regina. Then Anna got sick. At first, it didn't seem like anything serious. She mentioned feeling weaker at the gym, being clumsier than usual, her voice sounding slightly different. So none of us expected what came next. ALS. Rapidly progressing. The doctor said she had months, maybe 2 years. Watching her go through it was heartbreaking. Little by little, her body started to fail her. But mentally and emotionally, she stayed strong, especially for Regina. She made sure Regina knew every single day that she was loved, that she was fighting to stay as long as she could because of her. In her final months, her sister Ava moved to Winston-Salem to help take care of her. Ava was polite, present, always around, observant. At the time, it seemed right. Of course she should be there. Around that same time, we all started grief counseling, and as part of that, Anna wrote letters to each of us. She told us we'd know when it was time to read them. After Anna passed away, Ava decided to stay. She said she wanted to be close to Regina, and at first, that made sense, but then things started to shift. At first, it was subtle. Regina stopped coming to me when she was upset. She said she was already talking to her therapist. Then she stopped wanting to go shopping, said she didn't need anything. Our Saturday nail days disappeared, replaced by pottery classes, with Ava. We used to read books together every month. One day she told me she wasn't into reading anymore, just like that, and then there were the things I couldn't quite explain. Conversations stopping when I walked into a room, quick glances between her and Ava. Small changes in her tone, not rude, not angry, just distant, like there was something sitting between us that I couldn't see. I tried talking to Stanley, but he told me it was grief, that she just needed time. I wanted to believe him, I really did, but standing in that closet that morning, looking at everything I had ever given her, sitting there like it belonged to another version of her life. I knew this wasn't just grief, this felt deliberate. I spent the rest of the day replaying everything, every conversation, every moment, trying to find where I went wrong. But I couldn't. Except for one thing. Everything started changing after Ava arrived. And then I remembered. The letter Anna wrote me now seemed like the time I truly needed to hear from her. The letter. The letter was not what I expected. I thought Anna would write about her love for Regina, about the kind of mother she hoped I would be. Maybe even words of encouragement or reminders to keep her memory alive. But that's not what the letter was about. The letter was about Ava. In the letter, Anna explained how she and Ava had once been incredibly close. But over the years, that closeness had become complicated. She wrote about how Ava loved deeply, but sometimes that love turned into something else, something protective, controlling, and hard to see unless you were on the receiving end of it. She said Ava had always struggled with letting go, especially when it came to family. At first, I didn't understand why she was telling me this. Then I kept reading. Anna wrote that when she got sick, Ava insisted on helping, insisted on being there, insisted on stepping in wherever she could. At the time, Anna said it felt like a blessing, but there were moments, small ones, where Ava would question decisions, insert herself into conversations, and speak as if she knew what was best for Regina more than anyone else. And then came the part that made my hands start to shake. Anna wrote, "If you are reading this, it means I'm no longer there to help guide things the way I tried to while I was alive. And I need you to pay attention to something that may not seem obvious at first. Regina loves deeply, just like Ava does, and when she feels like something, or someone, is being taken away from her, she holds on tighter to what she believes is right. Ava believes she is protecting Regina, but sometimes protection can look like distance from others. Sometimes it sounds like quiet suggestions, small comments, or planting doubt in places where trust used to be. I had to stop reading for a second, because suddenly, things started making sense. The looks, the distance, the subtle shift in the way Regina spoke to me. I forced myself to keep going. I want you to understand this clearly. Ava is not a bad person. She loves Regina, but her way of loving can sometimes create division without her realizing it. If Regina starts to pull away from you, it may not be because of something you did. It may be because she feels torn between holding on to me and accepting you. And if Ava is near, she may, intentionally or not, make that choice harder for her. By the time I reached the end of the letter, I could barely see the words. Mia, if you stay in Regina's life, don't fight her distance with frustration. Fight it with patience. Do not try to replace me. Do not try to compete with what she lost. Just remind her, over and over, that loving you does not mean losing me. If you can do that, she will find her way back to you. The letter slipped slightly in my hands as I lowered it, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't angry either. I just felt heavy, because now I understood something I hadn't before. Regina hadn't rejected me. She was trying to hold on to her mother, and somewhere along the way, someone had made her feel like she couldn't do both. I sat there for a long time after finishing the letter, not crying, not angry, just thinking. Because for the first time in weeks, everything I had been trying to figure out finally made sense. That night, I stood outside Regina's door longer than I probably should have. I almost walked away, but instead, I knocked. Yeah? She called from inside. I opened the door slowly. She was sitting on her bed, scrolling on her phone, but I could tell the second she saw me, she tensed up just a little, like she was bracing for something. Can we talk for a minute? I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I didn't sit right next to her. I just pulled the chair over and sat across from her, gave her a little space. I read the letter your mom wrote me, I said. Her eyes dropped instantly. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then I said quietly, I think I understand what's been going on. That made her look up. Not fully, but enough. I'm not trying to replace your mom, I said. Her jaw tightened just slightly, like that was exactly what she'd been holding on to. You don't have to choose between us, I continued. You never did. Her eyes started to water, but she blinked it back quickly. I think maybe loving me started to feel wrong, I said softly, like it meant you were letting her go. That did it. Her face crumbled before she could stop it, and this time she didn't look away. I didn't know how, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. I know. For a moment we just sat there. No big speech. No fixing everything all at once. Then she leaned forward and hugged me, tight, like she had been holding that in for a long time. I hugged her back, just as tight. And in that moment, it didn't feel like everything was back to normal. It wasn't. But it felt honest. A few days later, I passed by her room again. Her closet door was open. I didn't mean to look, but I did. That blouse I had bought her a few months ago, the one with the tag still on it, was hanging on the back of her door. No tag. It was a small thing. Most people probably wouldn't think twice about it. But I did, because it wasn't about the clothes. It never was. It was about her letting something in again. And this time, I didn't question it. I just let it happen.